Okay, we'd like to call the Capital Improvement Committee meeting together Monday, to order rather. Monday, April 2nd, 2018. It's 10:08. We are in the resource room. We're going to skip over item number 2, which are prior meeting minutes. We've been having some difficulty with storms getting together, and we're sort of compressed for time, and we're going to have another meeting after this. So that will be item number 3 on the agenda. The scoring of capital request, and we'll take multiple votes if need be. We did score things the other day.
I thank Adam for compiling everything for us and organizing it. This is very helpful.
Really good. Thank you.
So the way we have things ranked on what Adam put together was how the capital committee ranked, but I think what we were looking for as well, before we left, we wanted some input from Matt Wojcik, our town administrator. So I'll give you the floor.
Yeah, and we're passing paper around. I thought we were meeting at 1, so I was kind of leisurely strolling my way through a memo that won't be finished. I took what Adam did, and it appears in the left-hand side of the sheet that's going around. And I was trying to see my way to come up with alternative sources of funding and other ways to see if we can get deeper into the list based on the way you guys ranked it. And the problem I had looking at it was that we have some very worthy construction projects, but because of their size, if they're at the top of the list, we're not going to get to things that, to me, kind of go against the reason to have a ranking system. So, since you asked me for my feedback, I took liberties. I just ranked it myself without the benefit of a system. I just took the projects on there and said, well, any system I'd recommend to the committee in our meeting after this. An ambulance would always come out number 1 if the existing ambulance was worn out and wasn't running anymore. Whether it's a life safety question or a revenue question, we have revenues in the budget that are dependent on the ambulance running. And we have payroll in the budget. To me, it's an absurdity to have 2 fairly well-compensated medics sitting in the station. And a call comes in for an ambulance, we get to kick it to Uxbridge or somebody else because our ambulance is in the shop. That doesn't make sense to me. So I would have come up, whether for financial or life safety reasons, the ambulance would be first. And generally speaking, those things that allow us to save people's lives should be at the top of the list. And that's how we get defibrillators, portable radios, and security cameras on the top. Because those are all things that we, especially if those things are not expensive, whether it's the radios, the security cameras, you don't want to be the group that presides over the decision not to spend the 32 grand, and then you have an incident. And we always talk about worst case, but there's a lot of things that go on in the schools that are not worst case. But you still would use, the cameras would still be necessary part of the operation for security reasons, for discipline reasons. And it's just not a lot of money, and we have some alternative sources of funding that allows us to get deeper into the list. So, after those immediate life safety needs, to me, the most compelling discussion is the water booster at the school campus. You can't run a school building without domestic water service. And then we have another security item and a health and safety item. And the running totals, I give you worst case and best case just based on whether or not we can find alternative sources of funding. The worst case is that we don't get any alternative source of funding whatsoever, and best cases, with the best case, I only got as far as the security cameras. I wasn't able to finish this analysis on that column. But I guess that's just how I came out. And then when we have, once you get past all of the health and safety issues, we start talking about equipment. And I guess the next three items, in my mind, are really to the discretion of the highway superintendent. Which one of these three items should be number 8 on the list? I mean, it's kind of silly to have a highway department without a chipper. It does seem kind of strange. But your plowing is your first responsibility, but it's seasonal. So your first truck is a year-round truck. You'll put a plow on it in the winter.
Correct.
But I don't know if you can make that last plow last 1 year so that you can get the chipper done, and then the next year, you're looking at plows, but you're probably looking at 2.
Right, we would be looking at 2. If I had to choose, I would take the truck over the chipper, because that truck is on the road every day. Again, I don't want to put any more money into that truck. I'm gonna have to put an oil pan on that truck, which entails lifting the cab off, and that's just throwing that money away. But it'll be done at a dealership somewhere.
Yep.
And we're talking $3,000 or $4,000 with labor costs and what have you. I just, to do that to that truck in that condition, that's what I would shoot for, is the truck. The chipper right now, even today, this morning we started out, still cleaning from the storm, we still got weeks to go. If we had the chipper, we'd go along street by street with the guys, but instead we're still hauling the brush away. But, you know, it's a toss-up,
The
but,
truck's doing that also.
correct,
you
the
know,
truck
so
would
The
pull
truck would
the
have to
chipper,
pull a chipper.
you know?
So I did a very similar exercise to what Matt did, and got very similar results, where I kind
Yeah.
of threw out, not necessarily threw out the rankings, but, you know, used my own discretion on some things. And the one thing I did have, it kind of in that next group though, is I had the hot box higher than the chipper and the truck, thinking that that's something that's gonna pay for itself. And again, in the financial position the town's in, anything you can get that's gonna ultimately save us money, I gave a bit of a boost there. And I also had the Gilboa Street project higher. I had it in my top 2, thinking that the way we talked about it, there was potentially a public safety as well as a friendly to business. There was multiple kind of positives to that one that I saw being up there, but I don't have a problem with it being where it is here in Matt's list either, so.
I agree
you
with
know,
the
so.
analysis, and it would be higher on my list, except I think I'd like to have a year to really put people through their paces on the grant side of things.
Yeah.
In my experience, there's a division within the Federal Department of Commerce called the Economic Development Administration. And they have substantial grant monies for economic infrastructure projects and all the rest of it. The Obama administration changed the rules. And so EDA, you could pretty much get a public water or sewer project through them if you met their criteria and you had the 25% match. You pretty much had a good shot at it. The Obama administration added economic distress as a key indicator, that you would not be eligible for the grant at all unless you could show distress. And they were kind of doing it to save money. It used to be that everybody had a shot and it was a 50-50 split. But if you were distressed, it was 75-25, with the feds coming in with the 75. The problem is they kind of took themselves out of the business of actually giving out the grants, because most urban areas have infrastructure built out. So they didn't have the projects to fill the pipeline. So it ended up being sort of an emphasis on rural projects. You know, think of the West Virginias of the world, where there's not a lot of money, but they are trying to do these things. Long story short, we ended up flying the division head out of Philadelphia, which is the closest federal office, up to Tiverton to look at an expansion of sewer into the industrial park. Because basically what she said was, the money's burning a hole in our pocket. If we don't give out the grants, Congress will scoop the money. So projects even that were sort of on the edge, and it was all just a matter of where do we want to draw the boundary line to call the area distressed. Right, so we went north towards Fall River and we picked up some tough neighborhoods to make it distressed. I think here, the same exercise could be valid, which is if we don't apply as a town of Douglas and we apply as Worcester County, we pick up the benefit of the city, And it's the chamber that's sort of leading the charge here, Worcester County Chamber. So I want to give Jenny and the crew a chance to see if they can incorporate this. Now, what's our nexus? Our nexus on Gilboa Street is that the Cannabis Grow Facility, is dispensary, is located in Worcester. So we kind of say it's not completely crazy. We've got a production facility that's gonna sell its goods in Worcester. It's a Worcester business. It's part of a rehabilitation project they're working on, so is that good enough? So that the money that's burning a hole in their pocket, they could part with it for us?
I'm sure there's been looser connections made. for,
Right, so if it's 50-50 with the feds and then we go 50-50 with water, we're doing a $470,000 project for 117.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I'd like some time to see if that would make sense.
Mhm.
We've gone this long with the existing craziness under the ground. Another year isn't gonna change the
And wouldn't water sewer pay for part of it too?
That's what he said.
50% of whatever's left.
So if you can get federal at 50%, water does 50% of the remainder, we're only
Yeah.
on the hook for 117 at that point, so.
And it's curb-to-curb paving as part of this. And if we stay within the existing footprint of Gilboa Street, we do not need to do stormwater. So we basically replace all the water pipes up Gilboa, or part of Gilboa, repave the whole thing. It's a pretty good project, so it should be up high. But it was, give it a chance to see if we can do these other things.
I'm okay with that.
Sounds good to me,
Yeah.
yeah. Just one question, you mentioned the Worcester, and it would be the Blackstone Valley
Chamber.
and Worcester?
Yeah, I mean, we kind of, I don't wanna get into chamber politics, but there's a
Yeah.
lot of overlap. and
Yeah.
They're trying to poach each other's membership.
Yes.
And that's, what I understand that's going on.
Okay, all
I'm not
right.
gonna pick favorites,
Yep, no,
and we're certainly not gonna join the chamber. I've taken every
yeah,
community I've worked for out of the chamber. It's a waste of money for public entities to be in the chamber. It's against their mission, I think.
okay.
But to partner with them for something that
Sure.
is fine.
Benefits them. Yeah. So the other thing I wanted to know, and it looks like Matt used something similar, we ranked 7 projects as a 10 for a capital improvement committee ranking, the second category. The first 5 here were all ranked 10s, so things that we said were very important. The 7th one in Matt's list was also a 10, and then the Gilboa was also a 10. So of the 7 that we marked, 6 out of the top 7 in Matt's list here, we said were very important during our discussions, and that was kind of something similar I did in my own ranking.
And I think that was more along the discussion, we wanna do the best we can, but we also wanna do the right thing.
Right.
Right,
At the moment, with, given the amount of money we have,
that's
so.
right.
So pretty much, we went about it a different way, but it sort of came out the same.
Yeah, and I don't want to discount the rankings. I think they're good. They put us in the right mindset. We can probably tweak them a little bit, 'cause we don't necessarily agree with them completely at the end, but I think they do help us to get there. But I think what we have here with Matt's list, at least I'm in pretty good agreement on.
I did the same thing. I went through
might
and
go a little bit different here and there.
and
but
highlighted a bunch of different ones. I skipped right down the list
Yeah.
and did the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Like, this is how it should be, you
Yeah.
know?
I think this is just very well laid out, and
It is.
I think our minds the other day was sort of fried, I know I was.
Oh,
I was
yeah.
like,
Definitely, yeah. Well, because now you're trying to write totals at the bottom, and you're trying to, rewrite totals. and we did a
We
little-
got the
yeah.
public safety that wasn't
Yeah, we kinda
on,
threw it in,
and
yeah,
that
last second,
threw us a
so.
little curve, and
Yeah.
I agree.
So I guess, I just wanna see how everyone feels, whether
Well, I-
we
I
go
just-
around the table and make
Yeah,
a
well,
suggestion.
I just have one question though, Jean, you were going to come up with some.
Talk finances?
Yeah,
I did listen to what Ellie had to say, about the debt exclusions. I look at it completely different, but my feeling is I never want someone out in the community thinking that we're trying to play this shell game, because that's not what we're doing. We do best practices, and one of the best practices is when you close out a project, that you look to reallocate the funds through town meeting to a project that can be borrowed for similar nature. So I kind of took that out of the discussion. Besides that, I think with the new ranking system, the longer-term projects aren't in here anyways, so that kind of makes that comment mute anyway. So we have $28,764. Those are the pay-as-you-go.
28,000, how much?
28,764.
Okay.
That is from the Municipal Center parapet, the purchase, install, repair radios, the police hat, police floor renovation, primary school exterior door, and the highway front and snow blower. Those are the pay-as-you-go capital projects that we finished, so that money is available. The free cash number did change slightly. John's killing me with the snow today, but yeah, it's John's fault.
I'm killing myself.
This is on time. No, you were out there earlier, I know.
So we do have 215,000. I reduced that from the 220 to 215 after our conversation on Friday, as a transfer to snow and ice. On the special town meeting, there was a project added, and that was, again, an attempt to save us money. That was 40,000 for the LED conversion. So that has to be budgeted for out of free cash. Leaving the available amount that we can, and again, there's a placeholder of 282,000 as a transfer to stabilization, leaving 421,792.
421,792.
So if you added the two together, it'd be 450,556. Now, looking at Matt's rating, that would get you down, and John or the committee can decide whether or not the chipper or the dump truck stays in, because of pretty much the same amount. But it would get you down to one of those items plus the hot box, because you were at 424, and then if you brought the,
Are we using best case
decided.
numbers?
I'm sorry?
Using the best case numbers?
I was
So-
using the best case
Okay.
numbers. I'm optimist.
I like it. So,
Um,
looks like, maybe the worst case, we're getting to number 7, and under the best case, we're getting down as far as potentially the hot box. No,
Well,
Chipper,
either
sorry.
the chipper
either
or
the chipper or the truck, yeah.
or the truck
That sounds like the
stays in,
truck, yeah.
plus the hot box.
Oh, and then add the hot box over or the other one, okay,
Right.
gotcha.
That
That's your
would get
450.
you
Yeah.
close to it.
Yeah.
So I guess that question is, and I think John already answered it, he would rather have the truck than the chipper,
Correct.
correct?
Yeah, so I
So
always
you-
switch those.
if you
on my
X
list.
out the chipper and include in the hot box, you're still knocking another needed project off that's gonna benefit and save the town money.
The hot box will save the town money. The chipper, theoretically,
It will
You don't
save
s-
labor.
it saves
Yeah.
labor, but
Yeah.
we don't sell the mulch. So,
And it gets extra points for still being there next year when you need, if we can do it next year.
I guess the question is, how realistic of a best case can it?
well, I only made 2 changes.
Yeah, that we potentially get the radios completely funded with a grant, or Wallem Lake Fund, okay.
There's sufficient funds in the Wallem Lake Fund. We would just need DCR sign off. The reason why I would score it to the radios proposal is because that's at one locale where we might
Oh,
find
absolutely.
ourselves using portable radios.
Absolutely.
So it's a good nexus. So I think you can probably look at, the question is, what if we got the grant and we still had the Wallem Lake Fund? Would you tap it or would you let it grow?
That can grow over years, if I remember that.
Yeah,
meeting,
so
right?
it's not gonna
Yeah.
go away.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's whatever it is, 30, whatever they told us it was.
It was 30 in the fall, right?
It's 30 in the fall.
So that would still be, because it hasn't been open, but it'll be
Right.
open in a few weeks.
Would you consider using any of the Wallem Lake Fund towards the ambulance?
Well, I guess that would be the logical.
Seems like either way, you can use Wallem Lake there, whether it's for the radios, if you get,
Is it 30-something thousand?
Yeah. I
Yeah.
wouldn't take it all, you'd leave a little bit.
no, you wouldn't pay for
in.
an ambulance, but you put it towards an ambulance.
That's what I was thinking, knocking it down to 215. You might end up over with your receipts. I'll have to conspire with Gene more on this, but the host agreement with the cannabis facility is very specific. That the first $10,000 is to be used for an ambulance. I don't know how we give effect to that, and whether we're bound to that, or whether state law would trump it, and it's gotta go into the general fund, and then we'd honor perhaps the spirit of the agreement. But that's out there as well. But in either case, I don't think you're gonna take all 240 out of this free cash and small transfer. I don't think you need to do that.
So it's just basically trying to make it clean and utilize some other funds, so you're not hitting, this is hard.
So it sounds like you get a fair level of confidence in the best case scenario then.
For those two items, yeah.
It is voted at the specific amount, though. Just the way the capital project article is funded, it will be appropriated for $215,000. So if you do not have those other funds, that means we don't purchase until we have a supplemental appropriation.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
When would you get the $10,000 from the envelope people? Or the,
That's a year out, right?
No, that's immediately, as soon as he's got his first seedling.
Seed.
Oh, okay.
Okay, and that's a one-time?
Yeah, once he has his certificate of occupancy
Yeah.
for the use. It's a one-time 10,000.
Okay.
Then we have to wait for a full year, and it's a different trigger. It's from the day the dispensary opens. They get to book a full year worth of sales before they kick in the 150. Now, he's in a hurry. If you heard him at the selectmen meeting the other night, he wants to be growing in June so that he can start selling in January, which would be the middle of next fiscal year.
Mm-hmm.
So, the budget forecast calls for fiscal '20 being the first year we get 150,000 from the grow. It's an important assumption.
You can't even take money out of the ambulance without an appropriation anyways. You can't use the ambulance even though the receipts are up. You can't use that money unless it's transferred into this article for funding. And you won't, and we don't have enough to meet the current year's FY19 estimate yet. We're not at that 320. So I guess conservatively, I probably would take the worst case. Otherwise, you're waiting on the funding for the ambulance.
Yeah, so it sounds like, yeah, you do the worst case, and then potentially we're not funding the hot box until special town meeting, possibly. Right,
You won't need it until then anyway.
Yeah.
right.
right.
Right,
Yeah, that sounds like
exactly.
the right way to do it,
Yeah.
you know, from a logistics point of view.
There
So
is
if-
lead time on that purchase. It's a
Yes,
3 or 4 month lead time
Yeah.
purchase. Did you go for the one with the oil jacket or not?
it has a propane furnace.
Propane furnace, but doesn't have the hot oil jacket on
No.
the outside.
No,
Just by word of explanation, this gets complicated. Bill Cundiff is the point person on it for me, because I have other things I have to do. The town is going to purchase its streetlights for $1. That old appliance will be removed, a new appliance will be installed, and the new appliance will be an LED appliance.
Mm-hmm.
So it won't be an incandescent appliance with an LED bulb stuck in it. It will be a properly rated LED appliance. That's a reimbursement grant.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to set aside the money out of free cash, pay for the project, and then submit for reimbursement under the Green Communities grant. Now, they've approved this.
Mm-hmm.
They know that so it really is just paperwork shuffling. But as Gene points out, we have to treat it as a free cash thing, and it'll come back to when you close out free cash, but it'll be next year's number, not this year.
Any other thoughts? Brett?
I was just gonna reiterate kind of what the exact projects we're talking about here, just so we're looking at the ambulance one at $240,000, the defibrillators at $24,000, the portable radios at $25,000, Sorry.
Yeah.
The portable radios would not be part of the funding source, because otherwise that changes the numbers a little bit.
That would be Wallem
So that's
Lake.
out of Wallem Lake,
Oh, that's,
which,
okay, so we're not, okay.
which the way I understand that is that's sent in for reimbursement. The town does not fund it first, it's sent in.
The language in the statute says, for use without further appropriation.
Okay, so that would not be part of this particular article.
Gotcha, thank you.
So are
I
we
thought we were
crossing
going all
the
the way
radios
to
off?
this.
Well, you're not-
Yeah.
Yeah, we wouldn't be.
For the purposes of
purposes
this
of-
article,
yeah.
yes.
So we're crossing the radios off.
Yeah.
And we're gonna fund those through Wallem Lake.
Or
Is
the
that my
grant.
understanding?
Or grants.
Or the
if
grant?
possible.
Or the grant.
Okay, you're right, yep.
Yeah, well, I'm like, if you don't get the grant. Okay, so no problem with radios. So then the Douglas High School security cameras at 32,000, Douglas High School water booster at 42,346, Douglas Primary School security key system at $32,640, the fire station bay exhaust system at $12,000, F-550 dump truck with plow at $68,000, and then the hot box or not the hot box.
Well, we put it in, but just
I
not
remember
fund
getting a
that.
split there. I mean, water has committed
On the hot box
8,000.
too? That's already
That's
factored
right.
into the
For the hot
32,000?
On the hot box, they committed,
Is that
So
already
the
factored
purchase
into the
price is
32?
32, but
No.
we're
Yes,
on the
it's
hook.
24, the best case.
Oh, okay, that's the one,
I
okay.
think you ran out of money.
I think we did too. I think after the F-550, we're out on.
You're actually over
You're
by a
over.
small amount.
Yeah,
so
$400.
Someone's gonna reduce their
Yeah.
budget.
Yeah, so it's like $400 over if you stop at the F-550 or in that area.
Yeah.
Which I think if, go back to Jeff's school thing, on the school or the water booster, one of them was,
Yeah, it was a, I know you got a very
yeah,
specific
he
dollar amount
was,
there,
yeah.
but it was a.
Yeah,
it's a
he
pretty
was
loose
very
estimate
like
though, too,
vague
so-
on, you know,
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, if it was something where you had to put in $400, you know, whether it's them or us or whoever, it's, however it works, I'm sure they can.
So we're leaving that in.
The hot box?
So, yeah,
No,
No, the hot box
No.
is off.
okay.
Yes, all we would be able to do is ambulance defibrillators, security cameras, water booster, security key system,
Yep.
station exhaust, and F-550 dumper plow.
Okay.
That should put us about 400 or so over,
430, right.
yeah. And,
and there will be some, if this gets funded, there'll be some trade-in money for that '07 truck, which would cover that $400 plus, I would hope.
So we can reduce we're gonna reduce yours from 68,000 to the difference.
Do-
yeah, yeah, exactly, and that
'cause
would
we-
work.
You know, the truck's worth something to somebody.
So 67,570.
So you can't take the plow off the old truck?
That plow is
Had
hammered.
it, right?
Yeah, unfortunately.
Stop by on the way back and I'll show you.
Yeah, that's
No,
all
no,
right.
honestly, I will show you the patchwork on the plow.
Well, to
It's a
that,
butter knife.
to that question though, we did at the last town meeting, I think it's very helpful to show the picture of the vehicle you're replacing or the item you're replacing, and to show the new picture, because visuals for me, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially when you zoom in on the rod. And it's, as
We did
Brett
that the
said,
last time.
oh, you don't even have to use the sander, you just
Yeah.
let it go.
Just rods up the bag.
So, Gene, I didn't write down down to the cent on the actual funding sources, so I got a total value of funding of $450,000, 556. Is that good enough, or?
I'm
do
gonna
you need
close
to
the
go-
99, I don't wanna confuse anybody.
Okay.
We should be spending the 99 cents, but I'll just close it to the general fund.
So what is the final?
450,556.
556.
And again, that's what John budgeted, 215. I suppose we could take it out of reserve fund at this point, but, I say John, snow and ice, I don't mean to blame
It's
you.
John.
You can blame me,
I
it's
don't
all
like
good.
Snowy.
That's right.
So basically, we're funding 8 projects here. We're skipping over 7, which is the chipper.
Funding 7 projects.
7, we're skipping over
That's what I
portable
meant,
radios.
Yeah.
7 projects, right.
Exactly,
we're
yeah,
skipping.
7, and we're skipping over the portable radios to go to, for Wallem Lake money or a grant,
Yes.
and the hot box could be funded in the fall.
So how does the motion need to be here? Do we need the motion to list the specific projects? Does it need to list the funding sources as well, or just the projects in a total?
Look at it outside, I used to do it.
I don't know, I'm not sure how the motions have been. in the past. Anyone-
You wanna just list them out, what each one costs, each project, and then make a recommendation that we fund those 7 projects? So we have the ambulance for 240,000.
Yeah.
Defibrillators, 24,000. DHS cameras, and that is 32,000. Water booster for the high school, that's high school, right, yep.
Yeah.
DHS water booster. 42,346. DPS key system, right? 32,640. Station bay exhaust, 12,000.
And Gene, what was your price on the
67,570.
And the F-550 for the highway, 67,570. Totaling 450,556, correct?
correct?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion or any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So voted. That's unanimous. So there is our capital funding request for FY19. And I'll have to make sure I hold on to that for the annual report. I always misplace it and then I gotta look for it.
Well, it's gonna be in the warrant as well.
Right.
The Finance Committee has requested you to attend their April 9th meeting. They're still looking at a public hearing on April 10th. That has not changed yet. I don't know that's expected to change.
So who do they want at the
They
the
requested the
capital
capital.
committee? Okay.
I don't know if you have just Kent go, or if you meet, if
Few
you
of us
attend
can
as a
go.
committee.
I think we're kind of in the same boat for the selectmen tomorrow night. We're gonna finalize the warrant, so I'm sure they'll have questions. I can send them all this information now. They're not
Okay.
getting a lot of lead time.
All right.
I'll be at the Board of Selectmen anyway, if,
I'm probably gonna go as well. I mean, I wouldn't feel right not going, to be quite honest with you.
Right.
the 9th, I'm unsure about if I could attend that.
So,
Is there a, I'm sorry,
go ahead.
is there a joint meeting between the Board of Selectmen and the FinCom
Actually, they are.
Tomorrow night.
tomorrow night?
So
And I
it's-
believe the school committee
And the school.
We've posted every committee under the sun, just so everybody's
is
covered.
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 Board of Selectmen wants to hear from Capital Committee, is that?
No, but they'll have to, I mean, it's gonna
Yeah.
go on the warrant, they're gonna
I know,
finalize
so
the
does
warrant.
FinCom meet on the 9th as well, if it's gonna be discussed tomorrow? They wanna,
Yeah, I don't know, I think the conversation tomorrow night is a different one.
okay,
They like you.
I hear it. They just figure, if we're gonna be here, everyone's gonna be here. I used to be
Drag
there.
everyone
Everyone's
down.
Yeah, you probably set the wheels in motion.
Fire alarm, the on-duty EMS personnel, respond to the end of Old Farm and Woodland Road for an MVA with injury. The announcement of the fire alarm, the on-duty EMS personnel, respond to the end of Old Farm and Woodland Road
Business and new
for an MVA
business.
with injury. Adams Hill,
Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Any
Oh, I'm
discussion?
sorry, second. I'm sorry.
So motion made by Brett, seconded by Shirley to adjourn. That's it. Thank you.
Get a vote.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.